Hello there, folks. How's it going? Hey there, Kevin. Hey, Bill. Hello, Veronica.
Hi, Tim.
There he is, man of the hour.
Hello.
Yeah. I'm gathering you've been on your roller skates for the last however long, Kevin. Thank
Yeah,
you
we'll
for
have a,
thank you for
we'll have a,
joining us tonight.
we'll have a conversation about that offline.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Meanwhile, you'll tighten up your laces. All right.
exactly.
Veronica, do we know each other? Hello there. Did we get in touch, Bill, with Megan? You're on mute, Bill. So
Yes, Megan hopes to join us. She said she might be a few minutes late, but
okay, excellent. So what I also did was invite, and they were going to try to make it the sustainability office. They were wanting to catch up a little bit. They had recently submitted their Sustainable Jersey scorecard, renewal application, which is formally due as a final in July. But they hadn't realized that maybe they should be coordinating a little bit with the school district, and that there was this wonderful project going on and a bunch of other great stuff. So I believe they got in touch over there. Would you have any idea about that, Kevin? If
I do
the
not.
school green team, last I spoke with Greg, that's not the group, interestingly, even though they have to submit the Sustainable Jersey scorecard, he wasn't interacting with the school green team. He was just interacting with I guess the BA and the superintendent's office.
Correct.
Okay. So
I think the long-term goal for them was to interact with all the different green teams, even if the schools had individual green teams for education purposes, et cetera, but not for the ESIP. They didn't do any of that.
Okay. Because that's showing up on the Sustainable Jersey for Schools scorecard for the district. When they registered for the program, they registered that project on their scorecard, which I believe got them the bronze standing out of the gate, right?
Yep.
So anyway, I was hoping that because they expressed keen interest, the sustainability office to coordinate with the school district for the scorecards, given the city can claim the successes of the school district, right? So
You sure can.
I'm not sure if they touch base or not.
And the city also supported community solar this year again.
Yes.
So that's another, and if they continue to support a little more, that's another 25 points that they can get, Deb, which I know you know.
Right before they submitted, because they were on deadline at the same time, you were trying to get that letter from the mayor here. That is almost like the day before or something, they had to submit their renewal application. So what they explained, though, is that they were interested to know if that new project in Jersey City was going to come around, because they had a window before they submitted their final application. It's July something. So they could still claim those points. So you went through the process of getting the mayor's letter, applying for that project. Did you get the project?
I think we did, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm going to be with them tomorrow, Deb. So I'm going to check on dates and things like that. And I'll ask about Jersey City. I'm actually going to be with Randy, the executive director, and some other folks tomorrow night. So I'll find out about that. Let's touch base on Friday about that.
Okay. To the extent that if you get the project, when will you know if you were awarded that project?
I'll know that by Friday. I'll know that by Friday as well.
Okay. Because if you just send me something that makes that official, I'll flip it to the sustainability office and tell them to claim it on their scorecard.
Yep, for sure.
How
So
you doing there, Jim?
Kevin, what
Hi, good,
organization are you with?
I'm
good
sorry,
to see
Bill.
you.
I'm with Solar Landscape. We are the solar company that's doing the ESIP program, doing the solar portion of the schools.
Yeah, great. Okay, nice to meet you virtually.
Nice to meet you as well, Bill.
You met Kevin once before when we were trying to update the community on the community solar program. He's our, point person on the community solar education effort that we've been doing. They had visited us on the CGC meeting a couple times to update folks on what's going on with community solar in the state. Round 3, by the way, is coming online in July. So anyone who's not already signed up for community solar may want to consider it. We're, the home team at SJC are all signed up for the program. Again, we're proponents of the program. We're the lead educators on the ground in Jersey City. And in bidding for the project for the school district, they won that too. So Kevin is here this evening solo. DCO Greg Burns had presented to us, about
Last fall, I think.
6 months ago,
September.
yeah. Oh, almost a year, so last fall. And he said we're going to, really be far enough along after the first quarter of next year for us to report back. So that's the nature of this evening's presentation. I think we should get started.
Yes.
We can introduce folks around the horn here, but regardless of the number of people who show up on this call, we record it and then we post it to our YouTube channel, and we also share the recording on our newsletter. So this is, for posterity's sake, a good thing, and we welcome you, Kevin Dunshee, who is the COO, the Chief Commercial Officer, actually, the CCO of Solar Landscape, who will present on behalf of DCO Energy and Solar Landscape tonight regarding the school district's energy improvement savings program, which is basically, I think, the largest school district project in the state.
Sure
as
is.
that goes, right?
Sure is, yeah.
So
I'll jump
you want
in.
to introduce everybody else, Bill?
Well, sure. I'm Bill Armbruster. I'm the outgoing chair of the Green Committee of the Journal Square Community Association, and I'm delighted that Megan Santasuso, who will be replacing me effective September 30th, but really effective tomorrow, is joining us. And Megan, I'm sure, will bring new energy, new ideas to the group and hopefully reinvigorate us, and may have some ideas on new directions for the committee. And Veronica Pringle is a member of the Journal Square Community Association, longtime member. And we're happy to have her. And Jim Nelson, of course, is a community activist, particularly with Jersey City Together, working on the schools. So, and he has done great work. And so I think we should just turn it over to Kevin right now.
Thanks,
Yeah, and
Bill.
I'm Deb Italiano, the founder of Sustainable JC. I didn't introduce myself. I apologize. Megan, you and I really need to get together on a conversation to not only debrief a little bit about the work Bill and I have done as we sort of end the season tonight, but what, if anything, we want to continue to do together come September. And we're starting to think about that now. So I'm headed off on vacation next week, but I'm going to circle back and try to get in touch with you so we can have a call together when I return.
Yeah.
Are you headed out of town anytime soon, Megan, or can I reach you in a couple of weeks?
Yeah, I'll let Bill know that this is sort of, we're passing ships in the night. I had our vacation just now we're coming back from, so we'll be around in July, if that's July and August.
Great.
And Deb, the Journal Square Community Association Summer Social will be Wednesday, July 10th at Journal Square, 3 Journal Square, 2935 Kennedy Boulevard in the community room. That's from 7 to 9. So I hope to be there, and Megan hopes to be there. So if you're back from vacation by July 10th, that would be a good opportunity for perhaps the 3 of us to chat together, and more importantly, the 2 of you to speak with each other.
Where was that? 2935 Kennedy Boulevard? Is that a community
Yeah,
center
yeah.
or something?
3 Journal Square. I think it's right across from Path, just north of the Lowe's. I think it's one of the Panapinto buildings, the newer buildings.
Okay, so they were hosting you in the conference room or something?
Yeah, community room.
Okay, great. Thank you. And with that, Kevin Dunshee, the one and only.
Thanks, Deb.
Yes.
I spent a fair amount of time in Journal Square when I was commuting to New York City from Bedminster, and started to like Jersey City so much that when my wife passed away, Deb knows the story, I actually moved there.
Oh,
And
great.
it was great for me because I wanted to be by myself but not be alone. And Jersey City was the coolest place to be by myself, and then have just a lot of energy and a lot of things going on. And it was a wonderful experience. I would move back in a second. I was over in the Arts District, and I think they raised my rent from $3,500 to $4,000 for like a tiny little 1-bedroom. That was a little disconcerting at that time, but I do love it. And there's a lot of changes that have gone on there. Some of them I think have caused some questions with Deb and others who are so concerned about everything in terms of environmental and trees and health. And I think that it's kind of where we're jumping off today, because this idea of community solar, which we're doing a lot of, and now this ESIP project, which is happening at the schools, really addresses a lot of those concerns, not nearly enough. And that's why Deb's working so hard. So I just want to thank her for all she's doing and for the great partnership that we've had with Sustainable Jersey City since we first met. I'm going to share a PowerPoint, which is kind of what Greg's PowerPoint, with some changes in it. And what I'm going to try to do is, Greg Burns from DCO kind of laid the groundwork for what the ESIP program was going to look like and the changes that it was going to make in the school. And what I'd like to do is bring everybody up to speed on what happened so far, what's likely to happen in the months ahead, and then let you know what the target date to complete this entire program is. And then if you have questions along the way, Deb, as you know, feel free to just stop me and ask.
Thank you.
Okay. This is usually where the old man problems thing happened, but it looks like I'm there.
Yeah, I'm familiar.
You're familiar with those, aren't you, Bill? Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, so so we're off to a good start so far. So this is actually the PowerPoint that Greg Burns shared, and Greg is kind of the point for DCO in the ESIP program. I'm going to explain DCO is and who Solar Landscape and what ESIP and all those acronyms and everything mean, so everybody's kind of clear on what this is. But what I'm hoping to do is kind of do a refresher of what an ESIP actually is and why it's come to Jersey City, what the planned upgrades for the schools are, what's happened in the school so far, an update on the solar, which is a large part of what we're doing to call all the savings that it gives to the school, and it's the part that I'm most intimately involved in, and then see if I can answer any questions. Greg's thought was with DCO is he wants to get together with everybody in September, because there's so much more that he'll be able to cover in terms of the changes that have happened. What's that expression that we make plans and God smiles, or something like this. So always when programs like this start, infrastructure, PSE&G, sustain, the maps that tell us if there's capacity, all those things start to get in the way and delay things a little bit. But their progress has been made, so I'll go through some of that with you. But for those who aren't aware, and I did see the video of, the recording, Deb, of Greg's presentation, but I just want to cover a couple of the slides that he did. The great thing about an ESIP, I'll make this as simple as possible. This is an energy savings improvement program, incentive program. And basically what happens here is that the school, rather than have to float a bond or go to the taxpayers for money or go borrow money that requires them to pass some legislation and get the taxpayers to vote yes. It is a program through the state where the school can get access to money to make changes in its infrastructure and its envelope and the HVAC and the boilers and the rooftops, et cetera, and never go to the taxpayers for money. It's all done through this program. Okay. And then you say, well, they're still borrowing money. How are they paying it back? They're going to pay it back through the savings that's provided by all of these improvements that are happening in the different schools. So that's kind of the jumping off point for what happened here. With an ESIP, Deb knows, believe me, Deb knows more about this stuff than I do, way more. But if Deb was my point person, she and I said, we're going to start a company tomorrow. And we decided, let's be an ESCO. Deb, let's form an ESCO, an energy service company. And we're going to do these ESIPs and we're going to do these in schools all across New Jersey. Be unlikely that we could do that without jumping through a whole lot of hoops. So an energy services company, an ESCO, okay, that's what DCO is. That's who Greg works for. There's about 100 of those across the country. There's, I think, probably about 12 that are active in New Jersey. There's 100 approved, but not all are active. I think there's about 12 or 13 that are approved in New Jersey. I know Deb knows Honeywell and has great relationships there, and that's one of the big successful ones, and DCO is another. But in an energy service company, they're the ones who work in and around this whole ESIP program. And the way that it works is a DCO will find out, because a school like Jersey City will put something out and says, hey, we're looking for an energy service company. So there's two ways that Jersey City could get solar, right? They could just say, hey, we want to do solar on the roof. Let's do an RFP for solar. Companies like us would respond. We'd say, here's the savings we're giving you. They'd say, this is great. We're going to save $1 million a year on solar. High five to everybody. Great job. That's one thing they could do. What that doesn't address is the schools need roofs, the schools need HVAC, the schools need boilers. So the second way that a school can do it is they go to an energy service company and they do this ESIP energy audit that goes on, that determines everything that needs to be done with the schools. And let's see if we can do even more than just give some savings for solar. So what happens is the school goes to an RFP and they say, hey, we're looking for bids for somebody to be our ESCO. So all of these companies will bid into this. Now, what they do beforehand is they've got to do some work. There's a lot of expense that goes in for these ESCOs beforehand, because they have to get some information that the school provides as part of the RFP. They do an audit. They look at where the cost savings could be. Typically, they call partners like us and say, hey, how much solar could you put on these different rooftops? So they use all that information, and then they respond to the RFP. In this case, DCO won the RFP for the ESCO, so they became the energy services company for Jersey City schools. And what they then did is an investment grade audit, and they spend a lot of times, and the engineers are in the school, and they're looking at everything, okay? When they determine how they can best save the costs in different energy upgrades within the schools, they then put an energy savings plan together. And then they go about how are we going to finance that and put a plan together of implementation. And that's what happened over the months prior to you meeting with Greg. And I think when you met with Greg, the plans were just starting, but nothing had actually been done. What the goal of the school was here was, well, there was a lot of different goals, but one was to give a better experience for students. And another big concern of theirs was health. And certainly cost savings was important to them as well, in order to finance all of the changes that they wanted to make. But, you know, DCO met with the school, ongoing attorneys involved, et cetera. And what was a really cool thing that they did is they looked at this and said, if we do as many schools as we believe we're going to do, which is 33 schools, this will in fact be the largest ESIP in the entire state. If you look at across the country, we couldn't quite figure it out, but we think it might be nationwide the largest as well. We couldn't quite figure that out, but it's $120 million project. I think Newark, Greg said, was the second biggest. I think DCO did that as well. But the money that was used for this was not just ESIP money, it was not just money that the state was lending. It was also that ESSER money, which is elementary school or elementary and secondary school. It's, I'm going to go through that in a second, but that's the money that was made possible by some of the legislation that was passed during COVID. Unfortunately, some schools use that to put astroturf on fields, and there were some unfortunate things that happened, but other schools have used it for the right reasons, and that's one of the things that Jersey City was doing. Okay, so we have DCO as the ESCO. Now DCO goes to RFP and says, okay, we've got to do boilers, we've got to do roofing, we've got to do all these other things, and we got to go to RFP for this. We got to get the best bids, and we also one of the biggest components in terms of cost savings is solar. So they went to an RFP for solar, and a company like us, along with a bunch of other companies, because everybody wanted this project, we respond. The way that DCO picks or chooses who is going to build their solar program is typically who is going to sell the electricity that we make on the rooftops of the schools, who is going to sell that to the school for the lowest cost, for the lowest kWh charge. Okay, so and now here's what DCO can do. They can look at some of the companies that apply and say, you know what, we've had a bad experience with this company before. This is not one we recommend. Yet if the school did it themselves, they would simply have to go with whoever was the lowest bidder. Okay. There were some great bids that happened here. We happened to get the project bidding 2.6 cents a kilowatt hour. So we are charging 2.6 cents for the electricity that we make versus what the school was otherwise paying was probably 11 or 12 cents. To give a little context, at our homes in Jersey City, we probably pay 17 or 18 cents a kilowatt hour, but the meter that the school had paid 11 cents, but there is quite a bit of cost savings if we're reducing their cost to 2.6 cents. Okay, so I'm going to go into that a little bit as well. So let's go through it. The idea with the ESIP is, what can we do to improve the school, and what can we do with cost savings that are available to us? And then working with the school, where can we make the most impact? And I don't do any of that. That's all done with Greg and his team. So I know Greg went over this with you, but I think it's worthy of an additional discussion. The first thing they're going to do is get new HVAC equipment for 8 schools. They're going to do 11 boiler replacements. 5 are regular boiler replacements, and 6 were boiler replacements where they're going to replace boilers that were being fueled with oil and moved to natural gas. The other thing is they're upgrading the roof system. So 21 schools are going to get brand new roofs. That's important because if we think about the cost there, it's the worst thing in the world. Believe my father was a superintendent of schools when you have to go to the taxpayers and say, hey, we need a new roof on the school. It's not like putting an auditorium in a school where everybody can see it, or a new classroom, or hiring new teachers where you can really see the impact. But you have to have it, otherwise it's raining on the kids, So 21 schools needed new roofs. All the schools are going to get LED lighting. Solar is going to be put on the school. And the wonderful things for taxpayers in Jersey City and for the school itself is all of this is being done without an additional dime of tax increase. Ultimately,
Kevin, every school in Jersey City is getting solar panels, or just the 21 that are getting the new roofs?
There are 33, Bill, that are getting solar panels. Not every school is getting solar panels, and there's a couple reasons for that. The first is there might not be enough capacity with PSE&G to hook our solar in. That could be one. The second is sometimes, Bill, the rooftop is so small, okay, or it's a higher building where it's 5 or 6 stories, 3 or 4 stories, and it's tough to get the panels up there. So the cost to put the solar on there, even though we're putting solar panels on there, the additional cost would actually bring the cost for the school up per kilowatt hour because it's so expensive to do some of those smaller schools.
I see.
For every school, there's interconnection cost. The less interconnection cost, the better for a solar developer because we can keep costs down. So in this case, we'll put solar on 33 of the schools.
How many
Kevin,
schools are there altogether, Jim?
There are schools versus buildings. Those are 2 different questions, but about 44 or 45, depending on whether they're counting Snyder Innovation as 2 schools sharing 1 building, or Lincoln High School, which has 2 buildings for 1 school. Kevin, could you also add how many schools previously had solar panels, including Lincoln High School main building?
Yeah, Bill, I don't know the answer to that question. I'll get that and I'll message Deb so she can get it to you. To my knowledge, I did not think they did. We did some education at the high school. And I know they
Yes.
wanted to do a little solar project, but you would know better than I if we had panels that had to be removed. I think that would have been part of the RFP, and I don't remember removing old solar panels as part of the RFP. Do you know that there were panels there?
It's a school that has a century-old building and then a quarter-century-old building. I think the quarter-century-old building has panels, so
Okay.
not of the efficiency that we look forward to with this year's installation, but that there's that history to learn from.
Yeah, if there's a panels on the property, it's kind of interesting in New Jersey. So one of the ways developers make money, because we own these, when we put these solar projects up there, we own them. So we pay for them, we build them, we have our own construction team, we own and will operate them for the full term of the power purchase agreement. It used to, and the way we're able to do that, we go and get financing for it, okay? And then what we get back is, we get on the federal level, we get a very, very nice 30%. And this was, God bless this administration, they continued that for 10 years. We've never had that kind of backwind, which is why solar is really, really, really going strong in New Jersey. We get a 30% dollar for dollar tax credit. So let's say we put up a project and it cost $1 million. We get $300,000, not as a tax deduction, but as a credit on our taxes. That's the first. The second thing that we will get is the opportunity to write off 85% of the cost of the project, okay, which roughly gets us another 18 or 20% of the cost back. So in the first year, we have about 50% of the cost of the project back. The reason that there's so much happening in New Jersey, Jim, is absolutely because of the state incentives. Because if I go to Mississippi and build this same project, I'd have all those same federal incentives, but I'd have nothing from the state, which is why no projects are going up down there, right? So if we look at, interestingly enough, if we look at a map and we say where are most solars going on, it's on the coast, right? It's in Massachusetts and New York and New Jersey, soon Pennsylvania, Maryland, and then it's in Illinois, and then we see quite a bit in Minnesota, and then we see a whole lot, of course, out in California. Okay, so the way that the state incentives work is for every 1,000 kilowatt hours of electricity that we make that's clean electricity, that we're replacing dirty with clean, the state of New Jersey will give us a REC, a renewable energy credit. They used to be called solar renewable energy credits. And there's a market for those. We can sell those immediately. Okay. And it makes, for a company like us, we can be in 7 or 8 or 9 years after borrowing money and doing, paying for the construction, et cetera. This can become a profitable project for us, but it takes a while.
Kevin, just to backtrack to something else you said before
Mhm.
about the cost of installing solar panels on taller buildings, those that are 5 or 6 stories or more. So I presume that same mathematics applies to other types of buildings, residential, commercial, office buildings, etc. Is that correct?
You bet, Bill. And it will be reflected in the PPA price. In community solar, it's reflected in the lease payment that we'll be able to give the rooftop owner. If I have, for example, we did a couple of Prologis projects in Perth Amboy, absolutely huge buildings, 300,000 square foot, 400,000 square feet. We just did a tour of those buildings the other day with some commercial real estate owners.
Prologis is a warehouse company, correct?
Exactly. And Bill, everybody's fighting over the warehouses. Everybody wants those because I can get up there. That's 1 or 2 interconnections, and I can put thousands of panels in there. And I can build on those 2 buildings that we built in Perth Amboy. That solar project combined is almost as big as the entire Jersey City Schools project. So
Wow.
Everybody wants those warehouses today. And it used to
the warehouses are usually only 2 or maybe 3 stories tall, right?
That's exactly right.
Yeah.
And the other part about them, Bill, is they don't use a lot of electricity unless they have the freezer storage as part of it. For example, let's say like a Wayfair or one of those companies that has just furniture and things. They're not using a lot of electricity. So it used to be years ago that we would only be able to put a little bit of solar on that rooftop. Today, with community solar, we cover the entire roof with solar. So now we're not having to use farmland and greenland, right? We cover the whole roof, but instead of powering the building, we use the electricity to power the community. So that's the idea of community solar.
So again, to backtrack, are office buildings and larger residential buildings, apartment buildings, are they expressing much interest in solar panels to your
No,
knowledge?
not really. Not really. Yeah.
What about on the new buildings going up?
Yeah, the new buildings now because of Senator Smith, the new buildings have to be solar ready. At least 40% of their rooftop has got to be ready and able to hold solar, all new construction in New Jersey. So yes, they're very amenable to having the discussion.
Okay.
So to that extent, Kevin, because any of the conversations I have with developers, they're basically less inclined towards solar as much as the legislation would require that that building be solar ready. They would prefer to put an amenity roof versus solar on their rooftop because they think that that is something that they can cash in on. Do you find that there's an education curve about the opportunity to put solar on their roof and cash
Yeah.
in
Yeah,
versus an amenity roof?
Yes, here's what we're finding with developers. Those that are forward thinking, like a Prologis, they're doing solar in every single one of their buildings. They told us we paid them $700,000 in lease payments for community solar to be in a couple of their buildings, and they said that's fine. But that really doesn't, if you think about a company that big, that doesn't even move the needle for them. What moves the needle for them is being able to do their annual report and show all those buildings that have solar on it and says, this is the good that we're doing in our community. We're allowing our rooftops to be used to power these homes. This is how much these homeowners are saving. And this is the good that it's doing for the environment. Second thing is when they go to get, or when we go to get loans and anything that we're doing, one of the questions that was never there before on the loan applications are what are you doing in terms of ESG, environmental, social, and governance? What are your policies?
Right.
What are you doing as far as green energy? You know, you almost need to be able to answer those questions properly today, Deb, to be able to get financing. But we still have developers, and I don't want to throw out any names, but I had one we met with the other day. They acquired a building. The
Yeah,
building
we're
had
talking about standard commercial or, you know, those residential high rises, not a warehouse.
Well, in this case, it was a warehouse. In this case, it was a warehouse. So I'm just saying about mindset of people, right? So the property owner bought the building. There was solar on the building. It cost him $350,000 to take the solar off, not the cost of the panels, but he had a power purchase agreement that said that solar had a right to be there because whoever built that solar paid for it to be there, and it had to stay there for 20 years. He had 8 or 9 years left in it. He disliked solar so much, he said, take the solar off the building. I'll pay the $300,000 penalty.
So to the extent that this legislation, where you're suggesting in New Jersey, any new construction needs to be 40% of their rooftop available, or maybe that's not the right framing, but solar ready to accommodate
That's correct.
40%
Yep.
of their footprint toward solar, but it's not requiring them to
No.
implement solar.
Nope, not yet.
Ah,
Not there yet.
that's something that should be in the legislation.
Yeah. So
And
the final,
that's for all new construction.
I don't know all new construction in terms of the footprint that the building, the footprint of the building, Deb, in terms of square feet, et cetera, that has to have it, but I can send it to you because Jenny and I were looking at it the other day. Senator Bob Smith, who's been a good friend of ours, he's come to a couple of our ribbon cuttings on our projects. He was the sponsor of that. We call him the Green State Center. He's wonderful.
I'd be interested to read that. Thank you, Kevin.
Yeah, you're welcome. The energy management system that DCO is setting up, I know Greg said this, the whole idea is that anything that goes wrong, they're going to be notified. If there's a boiler that's not working or electric goes down somewhere, they're notified and they can, you know, even if it's early in the morning, and they can deal with it if it's an emergency. They didn't have that. That's part of what's happening as well, and all of that is being paid for. So let's look at the ESIP update. 5 boilers will be done within the next few weeks. The others are being worked on. You know, my understanding is that they'll be done by fall. 4 schools are completely done with lights. Greg wanted me to stress that doesn't mean that lights aren't being done in the other schools. That just means that 4 schools are completely done. 7 schools have solar
Can I-
installed. Yeah. Go ahead, Jim.
Just to add a note, because I was asking this last fall about the neurodiversity of our student population, and the LED is brighter than bright, and some students have a reaction to the brightness. So I was asking whether there are dimmer switches, and somebody last Wednesday said that's not part of the work being done. But if a classroom already had a dimmer switch,
Yeah.
these
I-
LED
Yeah.
lights are dimmable.
Yeah. I
And
don't,
in the future,
they're
if it's
absolutely,
where the district wants possible.
yeah. I don't know that dimmer switches is part of what they're doing, Jim. I don't think that it is. But it's,
Yeah, it is not.
Yeah.
But I clarified that last week with one of your team's member of your team.
So that would have been a member of DCO.
Right.
Right.
So out of the 33 schools, we have installed solar on 7 of them. When we install solar, we move. We have 80 people here in New Jersey. We're like teams of locusts. We get it done really, really quickly. So then the question is, why the delay? Why hasn't there been more done? And the reason is simple. We had in Jersey City, they had schools that they were considering replacing roofs on, that they realized that some repairs could be done instead of roof replacement. And then the others are actually going to be replaced. So once those roofs are completely replaced, we'll begin again. One of the things that we found out is our next group will begin shortly, because it turned out they did not need new roofs. They just needed some repairs. So my understanding from our team is that we'll begin again shortly within the month. All 21 roofs are being done this summer. So there's a lot of work that's being done on the schools. Summer's a great time to do it because we're staging better. You don't have a lot of students around. It makes it a heck of a lot easier.
Right.
In terms of the solar, I promise you, we want to get these things done. There's a lot of cost that goes involved for us to build the projects, and we don't start making money until they're energized and making electricity, and we start to get both the recs from the state of New Jersey and the electricity charges that we're making to that we're making to the school. The solar will save the schools a little over $15,000 a year over 15 years. Interestingly enough, if this was a
15,000.
15 million, did I say 15 million, over 15 years.
So an average of $1 million
Yep.
a year.
Yep. And what happens with schools is we can only enter into a 15-year power purchase agreement. So when we're with a school, we do something, you'll hear in solar this term PPA. PPA is simple. It just means power purchase agreement, but we say it like everybody would understand what it means. It's an agreement that we, not DCO, that we, Solar Landscape, enters into with the Board of Education that says we're going to make the electricity and you're going to consume the electricity. And it's at a predetermined kWh charge, in this case, 2.6 cents a kilowatt hour. Okay. Now,
And
even,
is it guaranteed to stay at that rate for the full 15 years?
yeah. I don't think we have an escalator on this. If we do, it's 0.5% per year, which is barely moves the needle on that, Bill. But I think it was so competitive, I don't think we put an escalator. Typically, what developers will do is they'll say 2.6 cents with a 1% escalator. Even over 15 years, it's 1% a year. It moves it, its net becomes 3 or 4, but it doesn't really ever double over that time period. I don't think there's an escalator on this. I think it's just a 2.6 because everybody realized how competitive it was going to be. Schools cannot enter into a power purchase agreement for more than 15 years. That's the limit for them. So what happens is the useful life of panels today, to your point, Jim, about how much more efficient things have gotten, the useful life for panels today is over 30 years. So at the end of 15 years, the way the agreement works is this: Solar Landscape must remove the panels at our expense, no cost to the school, and restore the roofs to kind of where they should be. We can't leave any holes in the roof or anything like that. That's option one. Option two is, and this is the option most schools do, we can enter into a new power purchase agreement with them. And maybe we'll say, let's enter into a new 5-year power purchase agreement, and then we'll reassess at the end of 5 years. The third thing is the school, if they had the money, could simply purchase the system at a predetermined price and they could own it, and then they would get the electricity completely for free. But since the electricity is only 2.6 cents, it really would probably make sense at that time. The school likely, if they've done what others will do, is just going to enter into a new power purchase agreement. The
So
school went,
ultimately, does that keep cycling, Kev? So at the end of 5 years, let's say, or an additional 10 years, is it the case that then it gets reestablished and you could potentially come in to replace panels that have aged out and enter into a new
you
power
bet.
purchase agreement with the school district ongoingly?
Yeah, yeah, it's as long as, I believe it's we're not allowed to enter into it for any more than 5 years. So I don't know if we can enter into a new 15-year without going to an RFP. They might have to go to RFP and say, okay, here's the system. Do you want to replace? It's very different now. The racking is different. We don't penetrate the roof in most cases. Everything just lays up there. It's ballasted with cinder blocks. Happy, by the way, with this group, what we're going to do, Deb, you'll enjoy this. We're going to start doing roof tours with some of our community-based partners. So if this group says, hey, we're building that project in Solar Landscape, one of the schools, we want to go up in it and take a look at it, we'll do that tour. We'll have Sean or somebody give you a complete tour of everything that's going up there. Bill, if you're like me, you'll wait on the ground. I'm not a height guy. So I write down there with the cold refreshments for people, you know. But
maybe Jim or Megan would want to do that, because both of them have children in the public schools. And
there you go. But we have stairs built on the side, you know, of most of our projects, and stairs aren't bad at all. But by the way, Governor Murphy is just as afraid of heights as I am. When he went up on we had the first community solar project in New Jersey. When he went up on the roof, he did a quick Facebook video for his, you know, to post online, and he was hyperventilating when he did it. He turned it off and went right. He goes, guys, I gotta go, and he went right down the stairs. So he's as bad as I am. Okay, when the solar project for the schools is completed, it will prevent 8,732 million, or I'm sorry, metric tons. I'm sorry, you know, my thing is breaking. I'm sorry, 8,732 million metric tons of CO2 emissions annually, which is amazing.
It is amazing.
So eight.
That's
so
great.
8.7.
And what was your
8.7 billion, right?
million?
Million.
So that comma should be a period, right?
Yes, it should be.
Yeah. Okay.
Sorry.
So 8.7 million in terms of metric tons emissions that have been redirected. That's awesome. Kevin, what did you say that the whole timeline you want to wrap up with all these, so with the solar implementation part?
Well, that's a great question, Deb. I'm telling you guys, we have 250 megawatts of community solar projects to build. So this project is 10 megawatts when it's finished. We have 250 that we're committed to build. Now we've got to get permitting and we have to do all this. So we want to move on this. So when these roofs get done, we will be like locusts and get these things done. I talked to Eric today just to double check. He goes, Kev, if these buildings were ready to go right now, we'd have people on 7 or 8 of them right now. Our goal is to get this
with DCO.
No, Eric is my guy, Bill, who oversees all of our construction.
Okay.
That's basically contingent on these new roofs being placed.
That's simple as that. But will we be done with this in 2024? Yeah, I think we will. If those roofs get done, we'll be done with them. We got to get these things knocked out. We got a lot of other stuff to build.
That's a big deal.
Yep, we build our projects with our own teams. However, we're going to be using the IBEW as subcontractors on our community solar energy, or we call it CSEP or CSEP projects going forward. We just have too many to build. We either going to have to hire another.
IBEW, how should we know what that is?
That's the electrical union.
Okay.
International
Brotherhood of Electrical Workers. Yeah, IBEW. So we actually made an agreement with them. They were not very supportive of us, Deb, because we're building solar projects and we're not a union shop. All the solar developers are not. They want their electricians on our projects. We have our own electricians that we use. So we met with them over the last 5 or 6 years and said, you know what, you're absolutely right. We want to include the union in the work that we're doing. And so of the 250 megawatts of community solar that we got approved, I believe they will be building 150 of those megawatts. Now they'll be doing it with people on our team will be helping, but it's a lot of work for union guys who frankly can use the work. And we thought
That's
it was the
really
right
great.
thing to do. Yeah.
Yeah. Hey, Kevin, how old is Solar Landscape? How long have you guys been around?
Bill, we started in 2012. We're still family owned. We had 2 childhood friends in Wall Township, sold Christmas trees, raised $10,000, selling Christmas trees door to door in a flatbed truck because they wanted to start a solar company, and they started doing residential solar and then realized that there was much more opportunity in commercial. When I started with Solar Landscape in 2017, we had 4 people in the city. That's when I was going into Journal Square and taking the PATH train in. And we have, I believe now we're over 200 people just in that period of time.
Wow.
So we've got, we're doing work in Maryland, and we're doing work in Illinois, and we're doing work in New Mexico and Virginia and Maryland, quite a bit in Maryland right now. So what's just happened in a short period of time, especially, you know, with and I mean this sincerely, Deb, with assistance of community-based organizations like Deb and these others who have helped us position ourselves as we've grown to a point that I didn't think that we even thought was possible. And we're excited about that. So instead of hiring, you know, old guys like old Kev who was retiring for finance and was said, yeah, I'll help you guys. We've got Ivy League people. Most of the folks that we're hiring, they're you know, when I started, we had a guy who did our engineering. I think we have 18 engineers that work for us now. We had a CFO. We probably have 8 or 9 people in finance now. The reason is on these big projects, Bill, when we get this tax equity, that 30% back, we can't use it, right? Because we are spending a lot of money. So we don't have that tax equity appetite that we need. So companies like us get tax equity investors. We'll get companies who do have an appetite, who can use that, who want to be part of green energy projects, and we will sell the tax equity and they'll become a tax equity investor in a project with us. And those are some big name companies that, you know, that you and I drive by every single day who want to be part of green
creative
energy.
finance.
Yeah. We can't use that. They can. So they get it at a discount. And then we are able to now continue to finance our projects and continue to build.
Yeah, makes sense.
Yeah. So then the final piece to this is that these ECMs are energy conservation measures. According to what Greg said to me today, we have a lot of other miscellaneous energy conservation measures that I want to talk about that are not implemented, but will be by September, that I want to get together with the team and cover with what else we did as value add beyond some of the things we've already talked about.
Okay.
These are the numbers that Greg put up last time. I think the interesting piece to this is this elementary and secondary school emergency relief fund. To get 64 million from that just means that way more could be done. I don't think, Deb, without that, you're getting the HVAC done. I don't think you're getting all the roofs done. We'd have been able to do some things, you know, but there just would not have been enough money available with just the energy savings to do the envelopes of a lot of these buildings. So having that money available, it was wonderful timing for, you know, for what the school was trying to do.
So just a question to that, and Kev, if we're just
Sure.
looking at that, so that underlying funding that came out of, you know, COVID, call it the American Relief,
The American
whatever,
Relief, yeah, Act,
right?
Yep.
So then if you price in the total project value, that difference was bonded for, right? Which they then, that was that innovative green bond
Yeah.
that the BA did, right? And then the payback model is that community solar kicks in, lowers the electricity charges to such a ridiculously low level. And the difference in that cost savings is how the school district pays back the bond,
Correct.
right?
Yep.
And it's based on, just in terms of the sizing of the opportunity, what your line item here says for energy savings.
Mhm.
This is energy savings of 66 million, but that's different than the 15 million over 15 years. Can you square that?
Yeah, the 15 million over 15 years is just the solar. The other energy savings are from the lights, the boilers, the new roofs, the new and then believe me, Greg would be better apt to give you an understanding of that, Deb.
Right. So those are cost savings, though, that are, for instance, if the solar is paying for or providing the electricity, right? So they upgrade all the equipment, and that allows them more efficiency, more energy cost savings. But isn't that, basically the electricity that is being provided by the solar
Yeah,
implementation?
yeah. That Deb, you got me on that. That's a great question. How we arrived at the 66.
Yeah, it's a question. I'll grab, when we're having lunch or something at some point. I'd like to
Yeah.
hear that from Greg.
Yep.
Okay. Thank you.
This is just what the ESSER is. There were several levels to this, but it was COVID Aid and Relief Act, the American Rescue Plan, and there were several levels to this, all of which were this idea of, I think the genesis of it was children are being robbed now from having to be home of these opportunities to learn and these opportunities to socialize, those other things. How do we help them? How do we have healthier schools? And this kind of solar was something that was allowed to be done. I don't think the football fields were supposed to be done. I'm gonna
No,
just
Kevin, you're absolutely correct that the ESSER had a bucket of restricted purposes. A certain percentage had to be dedicated for learning recovery, so that might be added teachers, might have been coaching. Academic coaching, could have been counselors. But there's also a percentage that's allowed for air quality and energy savings, and so that's what this taps into.
okay.
So
Thank
it's
you,
not the
Jim.
entire ESSER bucket. There's an ESSER tracker on the Board Public Docs, but the portion that was allowable for facilities improvement, the acting BA has maximized that and been very wise in how he's not just invested for the immediate time, but also made sure that that's a fund that's renewable to keep benefiting the program.
Yep.
And Kevin, along the lines of what you had said about at some point there'll be, the opportunity to tour these rooftops and see the solar arrays. Isn't there even more coming into this in terms of the curriculum component, or what DCO and Solar Landscape are looking to do to integrate the understanding of this whole project toward some curriculum opportunities for the kids?
You bet. One of the things that DCO is doing, or was required to do, was to do a hire and train. So they're required to do some local hiring, training, and then local hiring from that. One of the other things they were required to do was education. So we're helping them build out some K through 12 education, which we will be helping them do as part of our commitment. We have a full-time workforce development team. Years ago, it was me. Now I was fortunate. I hired the young lady who was an executive director over at Solar One, which is the most well-respected, really solar training company in the East Coast, certainly out of New York, and she happened to live next town over from Asbury Park, where we are. So, her work-life balance has gotten better because she's close to home and she's got a young child she's raising, but she's incredible. And so that's the work that we'll be doing. We'll also be required to do some of our step-up training, which is our solar training educational partnership for underserved populations. It is nationally recognized now. It just got $1.4 million in funding from federal grants and state grants. What we're doing is we're training the green energy workforce of the future, and we're doing it in what we know best, which is solar installation. The projects that you're looking at are those two projects I talked about in Perth Amboy. 3 of the students who went through our training at Edison Job Corps helped build those projects. They made $63 an hour working on that rooftop because it's prevailing wage. So any project that's 1 megawatt or bigger, and that includes Jersey City, everybody's getting prevailing wage on that because the total project, even though some of them are smaller, the total project itself is 10 megawatts. That's a family sustainable wage. You know, that is a nice wage. So we've matched
great.
our company has matched the 1.4 million with another 1.6 million to make an even 3 million, which we have to spend over the next 3 years. So we're doing that training locally in New Jersey. We just got back from Chicago Urban League where we did the training. We're working with another organization out there called HASIA. We're working with the Safer Foundation, and we're working with the New Jersey Realty Corporation, which is Governor McGreevy's organization, and they help residents who were formerly involved with the criminal justice system get trained and get back to work. And what's interesting about that is if I'm hiring somebody from New Jersey Reentry, he can be on this roof or she can be on this roof and build these projects. They can't be in the Jersey City Public Schools roof because there are certain rules and regulations and background checks that go in if somebody's going to work on the school. But on these big industrial rooftops, we can give these, you know, these people who are returning to work the opportunity, and we have to kind of turn their life around financially and do some real good things. So we're excited about that.
That's wonderful.
Outstanding.
Kevin, what about heat pumps? Do you know, are they part of the ESIP program for the schools?
Heat pumps, in what respect, Bill?
That question has actually come up before.
Well, what you know, for providing heating and air conditioning for the schools?
Yeah, I would expect that they are. I'll defer to Greg on whether they did them on this particular project. I think when they go in here, like I said to the guys, well, how long is it going to take you to do this? They're like, oh, 8 months. I'm like, what are you talking about 8 months? Oh, okay, we go to every single building. We look at every single electrical room. We measure this, we measure that. We leave our thermometers there. We get readings back. These are like the real smart guys, their engineering teams before they make any decisions about that. So specifically, Bill, in terms of what they're using, I think that's a question for Greg. But if it's saving money and if it's energy efficient, then they're using them.
Yes, I had asked a similar question to Greg and another person at the SJC social hour last year.
You're breaking up, Jim. Can't hear you. We're losing that connection. Can't hear you, Jim.
And the upshot is that we're able to be bold. There were more funding. There might have been more cost effectiveness. I think the upshot is that they have explored that, and as far as cost effectiveness, they can't do more than what they are doing because of the overall cost and the incentives that the Bureau of Public Utilities permits. That's a policy question that could change in 10, 15 years.
Right.
Or 2 years.
Yes.
Right.
2 years. So, Kevin, do you know how many school districts in the state are implementing ESIP programs? Any ballpark estimate? I know there are 567 municipalities and probably roughly the same number of school districts.
Yeah, it's been my last tally was between 80 and 100. Bill, I haven't looked at it recently. I know that since we began, we've done Lodi schools with DCO. We've done Ramapo with DCO, and we did the two high schools, Morris Hills and Morris Knolls, out in Morris County, with them as well. We also did Del Barton, which was kind of interesting. I don't know if you guys know about Del Barton, but that's some campus out there. You feel like you're going to Princeton when you're out there. But that, of course, that wasn't an ESIP. that more of the schools that I've seen, Bill, go directly to, they get either an engineer or someone who specializes in this, and they just go right to an RFP for solar. And I think that that's a mistake, because I think what they're looking at is, you know, if you think about doing this properly, what Jersey City did was a great way of doing this properly, because they don't have any roof problems to address now for the next 15 or 20 or 25 years. Their boilers are taken care of. If I just go and I get cost savings from my solar, and yeah, I've got a lot of cost savings for the school right now, but I'm going to have to spend them anyway because I got to go do all these things. So the idea of doing this,
But you're
ESIP
also
says-
right sizing your energy usage, right? If you put all the infrastructure in that's more energy efficient, you're naturally going to require less energy. So
Yeah.
why, right? So you
Yeah.
would right size that solar buy.
And that's one of the things, Deb, and that's why I said I'll defer to Greg, but we're offsetting about half of the electricity. If they didn't do all of these energy efficient things, we wouldn't offset half of the electricity.
Right.
They've already accompanied the fact that they're going to reduce the energy cost by 30
Right.
or 40% to all the other thing they're doing. And that's where that 60 million comes from, but I don't know exactly how that breaks out.
Okay. Well, this was
And-
excellent.
Oh,
Jim,
sorry,
do you-
just going back
Jim,
to
do
the
you have more
education component.
questions?
Yes, Deb, just a comment, reinforcing the point about the education component. The last,
You're breaking up there, Jim. Can't hear you, Jim. Can't hear you, Jim. Sorry.
Kevin, do you know if there's any comparable program for colleges and universities to ESIP, the elementary and
Well-
secondary school energy relief program, or whatever it is?
I don't know. Jim would probably know if colleges qualify for that money from the
Probably not for
COVID,
that. There
from
might
the
have to be
CARES. Yeah, might be something
separate
different.
legislation.
Yeah.
Public colleges.
Yeah.
All
Oh,
right.
and one other question, Kevin. The schools in Jersey City, and Jim said there are 44, 45. And, are the charter schools covered under this program?
Not that I'm aware of, no.
no.
I don't believe so.
Okay.
Yeah.
But Jim,
No.
you started to ask something about the education component and you were breaking up.
Sorry,
Did you want to finish that?
Sorry, thank you very much. So on the charter schools, their funding comes through the Jersey City Public Board of Education. However, each charter school has their own long-range facility plan, and this program is with the Jersey City the conventional public schools
Right.
long-range facility plan. What I was saying about the education component is that last Wednesday at the ESIP commemoration at Ferris High School, we were treated to a video that featured students from Dickinson High School, Ferris High School, and Lincoln High School, and also from PS 11, 15, and 34, talking about how the ESIP was impacting their respective school. So you had 3 or 4 students that would introduce their topic,
That's amazing.
and then introduce the DCO envoy for that school. So
I
well done.
would have loved to have seen that presentation, Jim. What you need to
He
do
was-
is just find me and invite me to stuff like that.
Sure. No, I had bugged a facilities person to get the flyer about it, but that session was recorded. I don't know whether it's live on the school district website yet, but that's worth
That's amazing.
watching later on.
What
And
were some of the
and
things that
what
the
a great
kid
way to
said?
do it too. Yeah.
Yeah, and about half of the participants, there are probably 60 to 75 people there, half of them were students. And that was a good testimony that this is not just getting things done, but rather engaging learners. I will be interested to see how that expands as the ESIP tracker goes live. I think we saw the beta version of the website last year, but once that's live and linked to the school district and the school pages, that'll be wonderful and a way to help families appreciate this is my school, this is what my child is learning by experiencing this.
You bet.
When is
Revolution.
that?
So Kevin, is
thanks for sharing that, Jim.
DCO implementing this thing called an ESIP
Yes.
tracker?
Yes,
Okay.
yeah,
And when is
we'll
it,
probably pay for it, but they're implementing it.
and when is that scheduled to come into effect?
Yeah,
And
You
I would
know,
I would like SJC to report on that progress. So we want to publish something, if not give access to the ESIP tracker, because it's not only, I mean, and it's maybe more available to parents, for example, because their children are at these schools. But, you know, the general audience, call it people who are not with children in schools, they don't think anything good is going on.
you're right.
You know what I mean? I mean, the school district has really taken the bull by the horns here. And I'd like to report on the progress.
Yep. I don't blame you, Deb. I do want to say one other thing, Jim, which is a fun thing. You know, a couple of years ago, through my association with my friend Deb, we came up with this idea of a Green Ambassador program, which is 5 courses that students take. They take it at their own leisure over a certain period of time, and then when they get through that, and we have a way of tracking, make sure they get through it, they have the opportunity to apply in for a scholarship. And in the last several years, we've given out $20,000 in scholarships. The first year that we did it with SJC, they acted as our judges and they guided us through it. With no white label on any of the projects, the winners were 3 students from McNair High School, who each received for the first prize. Every student gets $2,000 for the first prize of the $20,000. You can have 3 on the team, so those students got $6,000. That was pretty exciting for us, since the genesis of it was with us in Sustainable Jersey City. So we're continuing that. Some things are being judged, and some Jersey City students are involved, and hopefully we can continue to make an impact there. So we're excited about that. But thank you so much for sharing, DCO. I'm going to circle in Greg and see if I can figure out where those videos are, Deb.
Okay, good. Very good. That would be awesome. I don't know if we need releases to show those amazing student presentations, but if we need to, we'll get them.
Yeah, that would be fantastic.
Yeah. Yeah, you want to broadcast about this stuff.
You betcha. How do people know if they don't know? You can't know what you don't know. This is good stuff.
All right. So Kev, if you could just send me your PowerPoint, I'll post this recording and, you know, your presentation tomorrow.
Okay.
And this way we make this more generally available beyond the folks that are on this call.
Okay, perfect.
All right.
Yeah, thank you very much,
Thank
Kevin.
you a lot.
This has been very informative.
I appreciate
Well,
it.
thanks for joining, Bill. Next time I'm in town, which I'll talk to Deb about. I've had some health issues, but I'm working through them. My staff has been told not to talk to anybody about it, but I'm going to be coming back to Jersey City in the next couple of weeks, and to celebrate your retirement, maybe you and Jim and the gang could come out with me and Deb. And we'll have a nice dinner out somewhere.
Yeah, that might be good. Actually, I'm in Ridgewood now, which is why I'm stepping down as chair. I got married.
Okay.
I got married 2 years ago, but
Congratulations. Good for you.
still passionately interested in Jersey City, and I'm getting involved with a group here called Green Ridgewood now, which is very good.
Oh, nice. Congratulations on that as well.
Thank you.
Yeah, you didn't look like you were sitting in Jersey City right there.
No. I'm in my
If there's
backyard.
that many trees, then Deb was involved in them if they're in Jersey City.
Yeah.
That's a rooftop garden, I think.
Oh my God.
It's
So
just fenced behind me.
Kevin, I will find you. I'm on vacation next week. So if we don't speak this week, I'll find you when I get back to town.
Okay, I appreciate it, Deb. Thanks for everything, as always. It was
Yeah.
nice to meet everybody.
Yeah,
Very
absolutely.
nice.
Great.
Take good
Thank you
care,
so much.
everybody.
Take
Good night.
care, everyone. Bye now.
All right. Catch up with you, Bill. Thank
Yeah,
you.
bye.
Bye for now. Megan, see ya. See you, Jim.